The big house on the lake had some very steep stairs in it. One set coming from the second floor, where my room was, to where the folding doors that divided the kitchen from the rest of the house opened into the hallway, and a set that were slatted that went down into the root celery type basement, of which those were the ones I do believe I fell down, because I remember a cast. It must have been a green stick break, because toddlers are rubbery, right? And I don't remember the cast being on for very long, so that's the one that heals the fastest. I was instructed to never go near the lake unless an adult was near me. After the stair incident, I guess I took that one to heart, because I do recall being made to feel that falling down the stairs was my fault. I recall endless nosebleeds for no reason at all. I recall waking in the middle of the night, screaming often at many strangers' houses and closed doors, confronting my distress, a fear of vomiting, a fear of thunder, so many sensory things of which would just cause meltdowns.
Meltdowns that I very quickly understood were not to be exterior, as tantrums were not appreciated, so all of that impulse needed to be turned inward, and thus I began to self-harm very early, probably around the age of 3. But that's a story for another video.
Many hours alone, within which I learned to feed myself. I'm sure that some thought it was cute, the raisin bran in a pot lid, but I couldn't reach the glass bowls, and I couldn't get the milk out of the fridge. The giant, hiding under the sheet of a ward bed, hundreds of beds, rows and rows of beds. I have to stay under the blankets to stay safe from the giant that is looking for me, searching under the other beds, behind them, under other pieces of furniture, until they get to where I'm hiding. And usually that would be when I would wake up. Sometimes the giant would pull back the sheet so that I could see that it was giant. I would awaken. This dream happened so many times. This was the most recurring nightmare that I had. To put it to a mainstream interpretation, I guess you could say that I had already identified that people who were larger than I was were dangerous, and so the giant maybe was a stand-in for adults in general. But given the mystic experiences that I've had in my life, I wonder about that giant sometimes, and especially that the dissolution of the dream was when I finally, after many years of having this dream, from the time that I was maybe 4 or 5 until I was about 9 or 10, was a very upsetting nightmare. I might have it 10 or 20 times in a year. I finally did. When the giant found me, I would find out what the giant wanted. And I don't know if it was a conscious decision or if it was actually the intent of the dream guide. But when the giant finally found me, instead of being a mean and terrifying giant, he wanted to give me some balloons. And then the nightmare never came back. I had a strange ability to stop a nightmare when I realized that's what was happening. I used to call it my dream machine, and I would try to program not scary things to think about. Maybe that was the gift that the giant gave me.
The sea serpent. The other reoccurring dream that happened probably with half the amount of frequency of the giant dream was the sea serpent dream, of which there was some sort of untold disastery type cataclysm and rising floodwaters. It was always flooded. And there was always a group of people that was reliant on me and needed to be shepherded from one part of the land through some flooded area into another part of the land, all the while being vigilant for the approach of the very feared giant sea serpent. This dream probably began happening after I was 8, so once I started going to brownies and Girl Guides, my connection to people has always been interrupted, and I don't desire socialization, I think, the way that normal people do, so this group reliance is more in the sense of a obligation or necessity. Which is often how I feel about social situations.